Hi guys, I'm a Forester here with another fountain pen video. My fountain pen reviews are some of my best watched videos, so I hope you enjoy this one. Be sure to like and comment below. Now, I attend the Triangle Pen Show near Raleigh, North Carolina annually, and for the past 2 years, I focus on trying to find the right Sailor pen for my collection. I've always heard that Sailor makes excellent nibs. Well, this year I think I found it in the Sailor 1911 large in Viridian green with a medium fine nib. It's a unique color with more personality than your typical black cigar-shaped pen, and the nib suits my writing perfectly. Let's go inside and take a closer look at this pen. I'll give you a size comparison to 4 popular pens that you might be familiar with, and I'll also give you a writing sample on 4 different papers. See you inside. Okay, here we are with this beautiful Sailor pen. And I always like to start with the features that I appreciate the most, and in this pen's case, it's the color and the nib. Now, according to my artist friend Mary, the color is called Viridian green. The color may not come through accurately on the video because of my camera, but it's a light bluish green. And with the resin, this body is translucent enough to see the nib. I'll give you a shot of that through there, as well as the converter. And matched with the silver clip and trim rings, it makes for a pen with just the right amount of personality. My other favorite feature is the nib, and this is a Sailor medium fine nib in 21 karat gold, and 21 karat gold is stamped there on the side. It's an attractive nib with Sailor's 1911 and the Anchor logo stamped on it. And it's a nice touch that the silver nib matches with the outer trim. Now, what I like in particular about this nib is that it's between a Japanese fine and medium, and it suits my handwriting perfectly and allows me to use the pen on a wide variety of paper. Now, I want to give you a writing sample on 4 different notepads using Rhodia, Tomoe River, Moleskin, and a generic Chinese notepad. So I'll start with my favorite paper, which is Tomoe River, and of course this is a Sailor 1911 large. And it has a hard, medium fine nib, 21 karat gold. And the ink I'm using is diamine, and it's blue-black ink. And I'll show you the color variation. So it looks black generally, but it does have a blue shade to it. Okay, so let me do some doodling for you, and this ink, or this pen, does not run out of ink. It puts out a lot of ink. Okay, so I'm going to give you some quotes, and the quotes will all come from the Republican National Convention. I think I watched every single talk, and this first one is a variation of something that you hear a lot of. Let's make America safe again. And that was said in a talk, I think the best talk of the convention. The lady's name was Madeline. And I don't know how you pronounce her last name, but I think it's Brame. All right, so let's switch papers, and I'll go to Rhodia now. Okay, so this is a Rhodia notepad, and I'm just going to do the quote this time. So And that was said, "They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way." That was said by Donald Trump. And it was actually repeated in Madeline's talk. All right, let's move on to the next notepad. Okay, this is a moleskin notepad. I don't use it all that much. I found I have a little more writing problems with this than Rhodia or Tomoe River. All right, so this quote came from a very entertaining talk. "Let Trumpomania run wild," and it was said by Hulk Hogan. Very entertaining talk. I enjoyed listening to him. And finally, we're going to go to just a generic Chinese notepad with medium to poor quality paper. And I'm going to go back to Madeline for a couple more quotes out of her talk. She said, "Mine eyes have been opened." So she talked about voting Democratic in the past election. She voted for Obama and for Biden, but she said they've been misused. I can't remember the word she actually used, but that she's voting for Trump in this election. Okay, she also talked a lot about law enforcement and crime. And she said, "We back the blue." And this was said by Madeline. Her son fought in Afghanistan, and he survived the Taliban only to be killed, stabbed to death in New York City. I would recommend you listening to her talk. Now, to me, this is a medium-sized pen, even though the name does say large. It's 5.5 inches long. It's 1/2 inch in diameter at the widest point of the body. And on my scale with ink, it's 25 grams. So I'm going to compare it to 4 other pens in my collection, and I'll start with the smallest pen, my Pilot Metropolitan. Here it is with my Pilot Metropolitan, and the Metropolitan body is actually longer, although it's much slimmer than the 1911 large, and the 1911 large has a much bigger nib. The writing experience with the Sailor is much better than the Pilot Metropolitan, but you're comparing a $300 pen here to one that's maybe $20. Okay, so here's the Sailor alongside of my TWSBI Eco. The Eco looks significantly longer, but it's primarily because of this blue cap on the end for filling it with ink. They're about the same size and diameter, similar feel in hand, but the writing experience is much different because of the large gold nib on the Sailor versus that hard, stiff steel nib of the TWSBI. But I do enjoy writing with both. So here it is with one of the largest pens in my collection, my Pelikan M1000. And the 1911 large pales in comparison to the Pelikan. This Pelikan actually fits in my hand fairly well, and I write well with it. That's partly why I consider this Sailor as a medium-sized pen. And finally, here's the Sailor 1911 large next to my Mont Blanc 149. The 149's a little bit longer, but it's a lot bigger in diameter than the Sailor. The nib is also much larger. And I will say the 149 is the best writing pen in my collection, by far. But it is double the price of this Sailor. Other features that I wanted to mention include this clip. It has a very classic design. I like it, and it works well. It has an appropriate amount of tension. Okay, I wanted to show you, give you a close-up of this cap band. It says Sailor, Japan, and then founded in 1911, and I guess that's where the name comes from. The other thing I mentioned, the converter, and you can see it there. You can almost read the writing that's on it, but it's made in Japan by Sailor for Sailor. So in summary, I would say this is a classic, conservatively styled, high-quality fountain pen. I wouldn't let the large designation keep you from trying it, as I think it would fit all hand sizes except maybe the very smallest hand. And in this Viridian green color, the 1911 is transformed from maybe your average debutante to the belle of the ball. I'm thinking about naming mine Melania. Y'all take care.